Rolando, how's it going? Good to see you again.
Hey, Greg. I'm glad to be here. This is an exciting time to hear from our members and to answer any questions that they may have, right?
Totally. I feel like it's been a long time and I'm excited to chat with everyone again. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with how this works, Rolando and I are here for the next hour or so to answer all the questions that you have for us. So, go ahead and submit them in the chat box, and Rolando and I will be here to answer them. Rolando, do we have any questions yet?
We do. We actually have quite a few questions. So we'll start with the ones that were already dropped in here. Looks like Mohammed has the first question. He asks, my question for Greg is, what is the amount of knowledge that Greg recommends for starting an FBA business? Initially, I thought I will be able to start quickly, but after creating a UK LTD company, and during creating of a seller account process, I read about so many issues like listing hijacking, suppliers tricking people, etc. These things and their solutions are not directly covered in the course. That's why I decided to give myself some time to gain enough knowledge about the worst case scenarios and regarding this business, as I definitely want to start this business and I want to run it for a long term. I feel myself that studying FB groups, I am learning something new constantly, which helps me to avoid some mistakes which I would have otherwise made. I'd be happy if you can convey, Greg, the crux of my question and have an answer regarding that.
Good question. So, let me start off by kind of saying this, that any legitimate business that you ever do is going to have problems. And this particular business model is kind of no different than that. So, any business that you do, there's going to be problems and there's going to be hurdles to overcome along the way. And the reason that I love selling on Amazon is because I think it actually does kind of like minimize the amount of risk that you take on and minimize the kind of the amount of those problems that you have, but you're going to run into speed bumps. And that's one of the things that's really powerful about Freedom Builder Bootcamp is not only have we created the material for you, but we've also created this community and a support group and everyone to help you through all these different types of things. So as far as like listing hijackers or getting scammed or whatever else, you read about these things on the internet, but in my opinion, they seem more prevalent than what they really are. And the reason for that is like no one's writing in Facebook groups and freaking out because everything's going well. Or like there's been a smooth period where they haven't hit any road bumps for the past few months. No one's writing about that in the Facebook groups, obviously, like during that time, because it's not the problem. So then what you're reading about is all the troubles that people are running into or their issues that they're having. And the result is like it feels a little bit more scary than what it might really be. So my advice for you is at some point you just have to get started. I would recommend sooner rather than later. Learn as much as you can. You're going to hit issues along the way, but that's going to be part of the learning curve. And then we're here to help you like to get through those periods. So, there's no way that we can think of every potential issue that you'll ever run into the rest of your life, like through Amazon. So we've created the course addressing some of the ones that are more common or like some of the more common pitfalls that we see. But some things just kind of can't be predicted or just issues that are, really difficult to predict.
Solid. Tatiana asks, is it possible to get to know the community better? Will there be virtual meetups? Many thanks for all your efforts at Jungle Scout. And to that, I would say we definitely want everyone to feel that they are a part of this community. And I want everybody to be involved as much as possible. And that's why we recommend that you do create these mastermind groups, that you do reach out to one another. It always helps to have someone there to hold you accountable. And I think that that's what you can do with this group, this private group. You can make sure to just reach out to some of the people that are going through the same things that you're going through and set up those virtual meetups. We're all for that. So definitely. Next question is Tatiana as well. She says, do you know about sellers setting up LLCs in Germany, taxes, and the needed share capital up front to form a GmbH seem to be tricky. Many thanks. Do you happen to have any experience in this, Greg?
No, so as you can probably tell, Rolando and I are neither attorneys or public accountants. So we don't know all the intricacies of setting up or legal entities or tax laws in all the different countries. Uh, Most countries, I think, including Germany, make it relatively easy to set up a small business. So there's typically lots of good information about this online. But no, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the intricacies of German legal entities and tax laws and stuff.
All right. And Karina asks, hi, Greg. I have a couple of questions for tomorrow's session. First, do you suggest I have a website via GoDaddy in addition to an Amazon store? I'm in the process of branding my name. Second, since January, I have party decorations that I have been trying to sell. I have used coupons, promotions, and decreased the cost of the products, but the products are not moving fast enough. My performance via the dashboard is decreasing, and my expenses for advertising are more than the income I am making for the sales. Do you suggest I stop selling these products? Is there someone who can review my account sales and provide advice? I'm not planning on selling these products again. Thanks, Karina.
Let's see. I don't see that one in front of me, so maybe we'll take that one question at a time. I think there was a lot packed in there.
Yeah. The first part is, would you suggest a website via GoDaddy in addition to an Amazon store?
So the first one there is that what you have to understand, one of the beauties about selling on Amazon is not only is it a marketplace and a fulfillment center, but they also have all the traffic kind of already coming to their website. So this is unlike creating your own website where you have to learn how to drive traffic to it, which is definitely the most difficult thing about creating your own e-commerce store. So I would not recommend that you set up your own website at the beginning. It's definitely much more complicated, and don't expect just kind of traffic or customers to show up there without a lot of concerted effort on driving traffic there.
And the second question ties into that slightly, where it's I'm in the process of branding. I would suggest at a minimum to buy the domain if you are in the process of branding. So I guess that ties in with the first question. At a minimum, just buy the domain so that you secure that and no one else can take that as you're already in the process of branding. And then, as Greg mentioned, a website, that's something, a little more of an advanced thing that you'll do down the road as you start really building and scaling your business. And it looks like the third question you had was in regards to if we suggest to stop selling the products, the decoration products. Looks like you already had some inventory, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you just wanted to sell, so you started selling on Amazon, and you're not getting a lot of movement. The first thing I would suggest is try PPC. I know you've come down in price, maybe not so much adjusting your price, but be competitive to what others are doing within your niche. But then at the same time, to drive traffic, I'm a huge fan of PPC because we always say like that gets you on page one from day one. So as long as you're doing that, it should be driving some traffic. And if you're seeing that even after the PPC, you're paying for the clicks and people are not converting, then the problem might be the listing itself. And so then you might want to work a little more on the listing and make sure that the listing is actually capturing customers' attention. If all that fails, it's possible that the product itself may not be a viable product, but it just all depends. There's so many factors that go into play. Like, what is the profit margin? Is it worth doing PPC because you have enough margin and you can use some of that for PPC? And others in your niche using Jungle Scout, see how competitive they are and what their sales volume is. And so you take all that into account and then you can make a decision. I don't think that you can exclusively rule it out just yet.
Cool.
I think that was the last of that question.
Next one here is from Elvis Titus. It says, what is the FOB cost quoted by the supplier? Does that include shipping? Good question. What the FOB cost is free on board or freight on board. And what that means is for that cost, they're responsible for manufacturing the goods and then getting it to the port to put it on the boat or put it on the plane to ship to you. This is so the important part, or the important distinction there, is instead of you having to pick up the goods from their factory, they're also going to transport it to the port where it's going to be shipped.
All right, it looks like Tony has the next question. These are from the earlier in the week, so that's why they're not showing up there, but I figure we could tackle these as well. Tony's asking, will your company consider personal and confidential coaching sessions? I love learning the principles and experiences that people share in Facebook communications. Out of respect for others' ideas, works, and dreams, I would never want to know what they are selling or details of their personal enterprise, but I would like to know enough info about a matter that we can learn what to do or not to do. Some are open and others are not. Your company offers the model just described, plus the modules. But honestly, we need to share the details of our experience also with someone professional. We need to share our personal journey with someone from the team, someone behind us all the way. Yes, it would be more costly, but it could be structured in 15-minute increments, questions emailed in advance and discussed for 15 minutes. Our group success would increase significantly with fewer pitfalls that some have experienced. We can share how we overcame obstacles with each other with confidence, edifying the group. Another thought would be to break out groups for each chapter with a coach from your team. They would check on us to see how we did, info and suggestions. So definitely, Tony, a lot of great recommendations there. And what I would advise is if you go to the course itself, at the very end, the very last module, there's a survey. And so I would love to have that information recorded there because we're constantly improving the course. And we've just got started. Like this is, there's so much potential with what can be done. But of course, it all starts with just being able to record that feedback. I did meet with some of our members and to go over feedback and get information. So I have that information already underway, but definitely I would appreciate it if you just go into the survey and enter, and it's anonymous. So if you want to go and get into more detail, you definitely can.
Cool. Yeah, I like the idea. It's not something we offer right now, but it could be a cool thing to do in the future.
All right. Olivia has another question here. I have found a product and worked out the changes I'd like to make. However, when speaking with suppliers, the modifications cost too much and the MOQ is too high. I have ordered a sample for the product the factory produces with no modifications. There are many similar products to this already on Amazon. Should I try and find a different product, or should I go ahead with this, but try and make this stand out with price and images?
What do you think, Rolando?
I would say that definitely you do want to be able to stand out. That's very important to have that like key differentiator. And it could be just that you offer a variety of colors or a very different, unique color or unique design. I know that they're not really flexible with that. The challenge becomes that if there's already sellers that have a very similar product, then you may want to consider like adding to it. Maybe there might be a bundle that you can create or some little add-on that just makes it, it's very affordable, inexpensive, manufactured by the same company, and that might actually, give you a little edge over the competition. But definitely, I would suggest try as hard to distinguish yourself from everyone, because you will run into some challenges. Not that it's impossible, but it's definitely to your benefit.
All right, next one from the comments section in the live stream is from Angela. How do I know if my products need to be palletized before leaving the factory? Will the supplier tell me? Typically, when shipping from China, you do not palletize in China. The reason for this is there are some weird laws around importing wood, A, and B, they can fit more goods inside of the container if they're not palletized. So typically how it works is the goods are just shipped loose, even whether it's a full container load or a less than container load. And then once it arrives in the US or your final shipping destination, that's when they are palletized.
All right. It's like Tony has the next question here on the submissions from earlier this week. Please, in the class, if you use an abbreviation, this is just more feedback for us. If you use an abbreviation, please explain at least once for us newbies that haven't gotten that far in the modules. Thank you. Overwhelmed, but loving it. Smiles. And what I'll do is I'll actually drop a glossary in the course. That brings up a good point. Just having a glossary that I pretty much because in this business, you are going to get a lot of abbreviations. And so I think having that would be very beneficial to all our users. So absolutely. Taking my notes here.
All right, I'll hop on to the next one then. This one is from Berenice. It says, hi, I live outside the US. In that case, where do I register my business? You have two options here. You could either register an LLC in the US, assuming that you want to sell in the US. Alternatively, you could register your business in your country of residence, as long as it's one of the businesses that Amazon recognizes as being able to set up a, or as long as it's one of the ones that they recognize inside of kind of Seller Central through the registration process. And you can find that list on Amazon. Now, when I say that, I'm specifically talking about what's required by Amazon to create up a Seller Central account. I don't know what country you're from, so there could be different local laws in your particular jurisdiction that I'm not familiar with. But as far as what does Amazon require to set it up there, that's what would be required.
All right. Elvis has the next question here, and it's he's asking, covering a bit of calculating profits, costs, and ROI would be wonderful. I can give you a general rule of thumb, which will be very helpful to make quick decisions. It's called the 3X rule. Essentially, you want to be able to buy the product and be able to sell it for 3 times the cost of buying it. That doesn't factor in any expenses yet. We're just doing some really raw numbers, not really diving deep quite just yet, because that can slow you down, right, when it comes to the product research phase. So if you buy an item at $10, let's just say I'm using simple numbers. Let's just say it costs $10 to buy the product for 1 unit from your supplier. Then you should be able to sell it for 30. And because basically what $10 would be going towards, your FBA fees, shipping costs, all of that's associated with getting the product from China. Let's say that's where your supplier's found, to Amazon's warehouse. And then the other 10 would be profit. So that's basic. That's a simple way of breaking it down. And I think that if you find a product, and the first part is reaching out to the supplier, starting getting some quotes, getting that coming through, and then seeing how much you can sell it on Amazon for a profit. That would be like the very simplistic way of putting it. I don't know if you want to add to that, Greg.
Well, we do cover this in depth. Do you remember what module that's in, Rolando, where we talk in depth about calculating ROI?
I will get that to you.
But no, that's a good rule of thumb, Rolando. And then you, of course, do want to calculate kind of your true margins before you end up actually ordering the product. And to do that, I would recommend the spreadsheet that we include in the Freedom Builder Bootcamp.
Yes, it would be module 3.
Sweet.
And then lesson 4, calculating profitability.
All right. Angela asked 2 here. It says, for FOB, what documents should I receive from the supplier before paying the balance? And then the next one says, who provides the bill of lading? Is it the supplier or the freight forwarder? Bill of lading, I honestly forget, to be honest with you. So how it works with my shipments is my supplier has the contact information of my freight forwarder, so they can communicate on my behalf and like work through that. Specifically, who types it up and who provides it, I think it's the supplier, but I actually don't really know for sure. Just because them working together, it just kind of gets handled.
Yeah, typically it would be the supplier, but yes, it's just like a teamwork effort when it comes with the freight forwarder. So as far as your second question, or I talked about documentation I received from the supplier before paying the balance. All at that stage, you've already drawn up your contracts and you've already sent that to them. More than likely, you've agreed on the terms. And what's all you would really need at that stage is to get the pro forma invoice and do your hopefully you're just asking for a deposit. They're just asking for a deposit and not 100% upfront. I would not do that. I would just give them like 30% upfront. That's normal. That's fair. I think most suppliers are willing to work with that. You give them 30% deposit, and then when the product is completed, you would send in an inspection company like HEMA, and that's when you would decide if like, hey, let's release the remaining 70%.
All right.
But there really is a lot of documents going back and forth. It's like I said, it's just the invoice that you typically work off of. It should have all like the dimensions, the weight, and so that you can actually create like a shipping plan with those details and start working that on your end. So
Jason said, "I met niece, Addie, and nephew Caden watching with me. Future Amazon pros. Cool. Good to see you, Addie and Caden." Anyway, how do I create the link to Amazon so I can see the source website the user came from? So you used to not be able to do this. More recently, there's a program called Amazon Attribution. I think you have to be brand registered to use it. I don't remember quite for sure though. I'm just looking inside of Seller Central to see where you find, or like where the link is to it. I don't know. You can just go to the little search bar. It's called Amazon Attribution. It's not super user-friendly or intuitive, but you can figure it out because it's not, at the same time, it's not super complex. All you're doing is you're just getting a link from Amazon. You're going to use that link on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else you want. And then Amazon will tell you whether or not there were sales or clicks and sales that came specifically for that link. So that's how it works. And it's also a pretty cool program that Amazon recently set up.
Yeah, and it does require for you to be brand registered for attribution. However, you can pull this off with like the social media promo codes. That might be an option for you if you're not brand registered. So if you go under advertising and you go under promotions, that would be where you can go in and you can create these promo codes. So that might be one option in the interim if you're not brand registered. All right.
Next.
And
good.
Go for it. You can go ahead, Greg.
Angela says, should the bill of lading be signed before I pay the supplier balance, or is a copy of the bill of lading okay? Sometimes they'll ask, like, do you need originals or copies okay of the telex release or the bill of lading? And I always just say copies are fine for those. Who provides the telex release, the supplier or the freight forwarder? The telex release comes from the supplier. What that's essentially saying is like, it's okay to release the goods because we've settled up and they've paid their final payment. You're good to give them these goods.
Next question is from Tatiana. I read a lot about cash flow problems as a typical problem Amazon sellers run into because they grow too fast. Is this because they do not do their accounting correctly? Does it have to do with the necessity to grow and scale fast in the business? Many thanks.
I'd say it's not necessarily from either of those, but it could be. I'd say the primary reason that it's a cash intensive business, or that cash flow is really important, I mean, this is actually true with any inventory businesses, but when you're importing from China, one of the downsides to it is unless you've developed a really good relationship with the factories, you do have to pay the full balance of the goods before you even get them. This is different than how payment terms are typically structured for like a more traditional brick and mortar business. With those businesses and purchasing from these wholesalers, you would typically get like 30, 60, 90-day terms. So what a lot of times would happen is you've already sold a lot of that inventory, or maybe even any of the inventory, before you have to pay for the goods. Whereas when you're importing from China, you typically have to pay for all the goods before you can even sell that first one. So as you can imagine, as you continue to scale up and launch more and more products, you have more and more cash tied up in inventory. And that's why it's pretty just cash intensive.
All right. And it looks like we're at the last question in terms of the early submissions, with Mohammed asking the question here. I have come across reading people using unfair means, for example, getting fake reviews, etc., to get their products ranked high up and beating the competition. Not everyone is doing this, and not everyone would like to do this. But do you think, is it possible to do this business where you don't break Amazon's terms of service, or TOS, and do it honestly? Absolutely. I would say the vast majority are doing it honestly and are not violating Amazon's terms of service. Eventually, the people that are breaking Amazon's terms of service will get caught. And so that's why I would never recommend that you do anything that would violate Amazon's terms of service. And I, in a way, Amazon does reward you too for that. So I would just stick with not playing bad with Amazon.
The next one in the live submissions, another one from Berenice. It says, I am following a course and have a lot of information. However, I've not been able to identify a product. What help do you have for me? Rolando, what kind of advice would you have for?
Let's see. Sorry, I missed the question. I was I was adjusting my screen here.
It just says, what kind of tips do you have for identifying a product? She hasn't been able to find a product to sell yet.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to one of the things that I use is using filters as far as I know right now with COVID, you do have a lot of COVID related products popping up, and I wouldn't recommend going in that route. What I like to do is I use keywords to exclude any COVID related type items, and what that does is it helps to populate products that are opportunities. In addition to that, I always start. I like to reverse engineer the process when I'm using the database. I like to actually sort from, if let's just say that I'm looking for a product that's within the price range of $20 to $30, and reviews are anywhere from like 3.5 and above. That'd be another filter I would use. And what I would do is I would just start backwards, because the natural thing is to actually go through the list like A to Z, but I would actually go from like Z to A, in other words, and just kind of go that way. Because in that list, you're going to have a product that fits your criteria, your filters. So I would say that those would be some ways of looking at it. A lot of it does come down to narrowing your search, to your top. I would say like top 10, and then reaching out to suppliers, just taking action. Because a lot of times you probably are sitting on some great ideas or some great products, but that next step is holding you back. So we always talk about not getting into the analysis paralysis of things, and just start reaching out. I mean, this whole process of reaching out to suppliers is free of charge. So you could do that, as repeat that process as often, and just become a pro of like, okay, communicating with suppliers, negotiating prices, and so forth. That's a great skill that you need to develop. And so I would say just take massive action right now.
All right. Angela said, when's the telex release provided? Is it once the balance is paid to the supplier, or is it once the supplier balance and the freight forwarder invoice has been paid? It's the former. So it's once the balance has been paid to the supplier, not to the freight forwarder.
typically the freight forwarder won't charge until the product is delivered, because there may be additional costs incurred in the process. Potentially with like tariffs and whatnot. So that's not that's why the Talix release comes prior, once you've paid off your supplier.
Ksenia says, thank you so much for your content. I really appreciate it. How can I get your feedback on some of the products that I've chosen? Where can I send them? So a lot of times what Rolando and I will do while we're live is give live feedback on your product. We won't specifically say what your product is, but we'll kind of give the feedback in an anonymous way to everyone, so that way we can help more people. So if you want, you could Facebook message it to Rolando right now, and then while we're on this Facebook Live, we could give you some feedback. As far as, well, I mean, we'll just, like I said, we'll keep it anonymous. We'll just say something that worries me here is there's not quite enough demand, or this could be trademarked, things like that. James says, thank you so much for your great program. Because of it, our products on the way to the US. All right, congratulations, that's great.
Great, James.
Is there additional cost when linking Jungle Scout to my Amazon listing and using the different tools to optimize the listing, keyword intent, inventory manager, and so on? If so, can you go over the additional costs? No, there are no additional costs associated with this. So feel free to, I mean, when you bought the Freedom Builder Bootcamp, all of those costs were already included in the whole package. So there's no additional cost. Feel free to sync up your account and just use all that stuff for free at this point.
Cyril asks, hi guys, I know a lot of Freedom Builders have already started selling on Amazon, and I'm just getting started with the program, rather at 7th module, and would like to get selling by October. Am I too late, or should I wait for 2021? I would not delay. I would not wait. You still have time to get it in by October. You shouldn't have any problems. But of course, that would mean that you'd have to already more or less within the next couple of weeks, I would say. But I would never, when it comes to building an Amazon FBA business, there really isn't the perfect time. I think that you launch you launch as soon as you find the product and you've done your due diligence on that part. So I wouldn't delay, because what ends up happening is, one, your life gets in the way. And although you have every intention of starting in 2021, who knows what could happen from here till then in terms of just setting you back and delaying it even further. The second thing is that there's Amazon is very consistent in terms of sales. Now, granted, the holiday season is a peak season. However, you'll find that even like in the summer months, you're still going to be able to make sales. You're still going to get sales. At the start of the year, there really is no perfect time. So do your due diligence and launch as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think people are always looking for that, or people are always, or like a common theme that we've seen throughout the Freedom Builder Bootcamp is like, it's really common for people to say like, oh, I shouldn't start now. Like I should start at X day, like, and so on to the future. And it's like, no, the best time to start is now. I mean, there's sales all season long. It's not like you just make sales during fourth quarter. Like best time to start Amazon was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now.
That's true. This is true. And that October deadline, in fact, like December is a really solid month. So like even getting it in November is great. And so definitely, yeah, don't delay. Get to it.
All right. Daniel said, if a product's not selling, is it worth sending it back to our home to sell it on a different channel like eBay? Do you have experience in this? Of course, I'll contact Amazon too about shipping costs. It's an option. I would recommend that you first try to understand why it's not selling. Like, is there not demand for it? Is your listing not optimized? Have you not learned how to do PPC yet? Because ideally, Amazon's a lot better than eBay or any of those other channels. So I'd start with kind of focusing on that. Question 2 is, I have 3 products with the exact same size/dimensions. I've tried to contact Amazon 3 times, but they keep charging for the wrong dimensions. Should I just give up, or should I keep trying to get a correction to lower Amazon? No, you should keep trying. They're actually, Amazon support in general is pretty bad. But this is something that I have had them do successfully, is take remeasurements of my product or the dimensions or weight of my product to recalculate either fulfillment or storage costs. So I don't know, maybe try contacting a different area of Amazon, because this is something that they should be able to fix.
And it looks like there was a question in here of Tatiana, but we answered it previously, so it should be good there. Mona has the next question and asking, I see different negative results when I run the Chrome extension on product that are in the product tracker. I'm so confused because the product tracker shows me a good result while the Chrome extension is the opposite. How do I decide if I have a good niche? Do I have to run the Chrome extension on a product that I have been tracking at all? Thank you. Yes, you do want to dive deeper. What the Chrome extension does, it allows you to dive deeper into that particular product as far as what is the competitive landscape look like. And also, if you show, now, sometimes what happens when you're doing those searches, one of the challenges might be, the competitive landscape. But definitely what you want to do is see if it's saturated in like 1 to 2 sellers. That's always a bit scary. If not, there's the possibility that you can, that the sales are spread out a little further, then that may be a good opportunity. A lot of times with the Chrome extension, you're going to be able to get a broader view of what the competitive landscape is. And if it is too competitive, then I would just continue on and look for another product.
Next one is from Elvis, and it's, what is your recommendation on handling the 200 unit limit from Amazon? Amazon won't accept more than 2 units at a time. Yeah, this is a little bit of a bummer. Amazon just recently put this into effect just because demand on Amazon is so high right now that they're just running out of storage space, which is both an awesome thing, but it also sucks because we can't store more than 200 units there. And what most people are doing is storing those goods at their freight forwarder, and then after they sell some units, they're shipping more in. That's about the best you can do right now. Alternatively, you could store them at your house. You could try to have your supplier break up shipments, but that's probably not recommended.
All right. James asks, wait, I think I may have skipped one here.
I think Jason. Is there a plan to roll fetcher functionality in Jungle Scout, or would they remain 2 separate apps? Just about all that functionality has actually been rolled into Jungle Scout. So if you go into Jungle Scout, there's a sales analytics tab in there. And if you go into there, it shows you a lot of just like the financial analytics data that used to only be in Fetcher.
Cyril asks, I'm based in Canada, and do I still need to register an LLC to sell in the US? As Greg says, we're not attorneys or accountants. We always have to give that disclaimer when we're talking about LLCs or taxes or anything like that. But essentially, to sell in the US, you will need to have an entity. Probably the easiest way of going about it is setting up an LLC within the United States and getting an EIN for that. And an EIN is an employee identification number. That's just the abbreviation that the IRS has given it. You need an identification number that's tied directly to your LLC. And then that way there, it's like an entity in itself. And then, yes, you could start selling in the US. And from what I gather, a lot of our Freedom Builder members decide to go that route, and I've had a lot of success with setting it up in the United States, for the reason being that US is a good launching platform. This is where there's a lot of demand. Other marketplaces like Amazon Canada or anywhere else might not have the volume that Amazon US has. So it is a good launching platform for your product ideas.
James says, how are you able to create a listing selling both FBA and FBM, having all sales and reviews funnel through the same listing, ranking the one listing closer to the #1 spot? So there's never going to be, or Amazon, it's not like eBay where Amazon will show like 2 different offers on the search pages for 2 different fulfillment types. So you are able to sell FBA and FBM. FBA will almost always win the buy box unless FBM is just so much cheaper priced. To do so, you actually just go into your manage inventory page. On the right-hand side, there's that drop-down where it's next to where it says edit. And second, I want to make sure I show you the right thing. If you, let's see. Actually, if you just click on like change to fulfill by merchant or change to fulfill by Amazon, if I remember right, what happens after that is it essentially duplicates it, and then you have these two different listings. And then, yeah, you are able to create an offer with FBA and with FBM.
All right, Stephanie asks, I bought the full program and not sure how to get the live peer feedback on listings. I contacted support, but they said they couldn't help me. Well, just to make a little clarification for everyone. So you do get one listing review. So this is your listing of a product that you're launching. And what I always recommend is to have it as close, as close as possible as to what your final listing is going to look like, because that's the only way that we can give a very well-rounded review. In addition to that, I think there may have been a little confusion on the support team, and you might just want to reach out again, because remember, it's at support@freedombuilderbootcamp.com, and just tell them that you have a listing review. We don't do product reviews. As you can imagine, the product research phase, we can assist as far as giving general advice, but we don't pick a product for you. And I think that may have been where maybe the support team got a little confused. But yes, you did get one listing review as a Freedom Builder Bootcamp member.
If you do want feedback on your product choice, the two things that you can do is, one, you could send it via Facebook Messenger during one of these live sessions, and we'll help you out during the period that we're live. What a lot of other people do is they'll find other people in the Facebook community and kind of create little groups. And it's been pretty cool because we've seen a lot of people do this. So you can see other people that are active in the group, or maybe that you feel like you get along with well, or however else you want to choose them. And then they'll create little subgroups where they're sending ideas back and forth, asking what other people think about them. And it's a good way to just have this little peer community of other kind of like-minded individuals that are in the same part or phase of kind of their selling journey, and get help that way.
Jason asks, I'm trying to figure out if it's possible to create unique one-time 100% off coupon codes to specific people. Is that possible? I see some setups in the promotions setup, but not sure if it's possible. You can create one-time coupons. Let me see if I'm following correctly.
Yeah, so the way that you do it actually isn't through the coupons tab under advertising, it's through the promotions. And let's see, you can set up a promotion for 100% off, but you have to be very careful when you set this up, because what can happen if you're not careful is Amazon will display that promotion on your listing, which is not what you want. So what you do is if the buyer purchases one, I'm looking right now, the buyer gets 100% off. And then the really important part is you go down to step 3, additional options on claim code, do single use, 1 redemption per customer, and then what's important here is 1 redemption per customer does not, that only means that they can use the coupon once, but they could buy all your inventory if you wanted. So as you can imagine, this is a really dangerous thing. So what you have to then do to protect yourself from that is go into manage inventory, click on edit for your particular product. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set the maximum number of units per purchase to 1, as long as that promotion is active. All right, I'm going to find where this is at in here for you. Um, let's see. It's under one of the tabs. You can set the maximum amount of units being purchased at a time to 1. I would also just say, especially if you're doing 100% off, just be careful about who that coupon code is getting in the hands of. Make sure you trust them and they're not going to give it out to other people and stuff like that.
And it would be under the, when you're in the edit your listing section, it would be under the offer tab. And then you'll see where it says max order quantity, set that to 1. Or however, if you want them, they could buy 2, then you could set it to 2. Ideally, just set it to 1.
Isabel says, hey guys, newbie here. Can you comment on how to protect our products from hijackers and knockoffs? So this is usually something that's kind of like misunderstood by a lot of people. So the way that Amazon works is if anyone's selling your genuine product, so it's not a counterfeit, they're allowed to sell it on your same listing. Now, if you create a private label item and no one else gets access to this or anything, then you should be the only one selling on your listing. In the event someone's selling an illegitimate version, so a counterfeit version of your product on your listing, so it's not your brand, it's a different brand or whatever else, what you can do is you can order that and then you can report it to Amazon as being counterfeit, and they're very strict about enforcing that. As far as knocking off your product, I assume what you mean here is someone selling a very similar product as another listing on Amazon through a different brand or whatever else. And at the end of the day, there's nothing you can really do about this because unless you have a patent on your product, this isn't like against any kind of laws or rules. So, the way you protect against this is you just innovate better, you create a better product, you get more reviews faster, you have better marketing. And that's kind of like how you stay competitive in the game.
It looks like Daniel, Mona says, thank you. Daniel has the next question, and he's asking, is there any other way to track customer purchased keywords beside using PPC? When I turn on PPC, it only catches 10% of my sales. And when I turn it off, I get 0. It seems that PPC is too costly. What are your thoughts? Thank you. As far as I know, there is no other way for tracking which keywords are converting for you, specifically other than through PPC. So I know it's an expense, but I recommend PPC all day, every day for products, just because you do want to manage and optimize and to ensure that your PPC cost is minimal, but it definitely is a part of of the longevity of your business. So I hope that helps answer that question, because PPC should be a part of your day-to-day marketing strategy for the life of the product.
All right, we only have a couple more minutes here to answer questions, so we'll try to answer these last few fairly quickly. Mona said, how do we read the snapshot? I don't know what she's talking about. Do you, Rolando?
No, if you could drop a little more information on what you're referring to for the snapshot.
Daniel said, when is profit recognized through Amazon when it's pending or shipped sale? Amazon doesn't specifically call out profit. Like if you're looking inside of Jungle Scout, it will. It's showing you sales when they're just pending, and it would show profit if those were to go through. In the event any of the pending sales get canceled, it just automatically adjusts for those, kind of like in the past. Ksenia says she sent the product to Rolando for review. Rolando, maybe you could pull that up real quickly. We're about out of time here. Yeah. Mohammed said, what is Amazon actually interested in during the account verification process? They want to make sure there are laws called KYC, know your customer laws, when you're paying out money here, that you have to understand who you're paying it to. So they have a lot of legal requirements associated with that. And they also want to make sure that it's not someone who's setting up a bunch of different accounts, someone who's maybe a bad actor in the past and is trying to set up a legal account. So that's why they're kind of strict about it. Jason, thanks for all the feedback. I had a great listening review with Rolando a week or two ago, and it was awesome. Rolando, nice work there. Jason says thanks.
Thanks, Jason.
Our 200 unit product was too lightweight to obtain a freight forwarder. If the supplier ships via air, should we pay him 30/70 or 100% in advance? You guys are great. Typically, you pay 30 to 50% before they start manufacturing your products for you, and you pay the balance on an air shipment, typically right before it's shipped to you via air. Were you able to find Ksenia's, Rolando, or still working on it?
Yeah, I'm looking it up, but the only there's 4 products here. I think it looks like.
All right. We only have 2 minutes left, so I don't know. You think you could just respond to that one through Messenger, Rolando?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sophia says, "Hey guys, tomorrow my first product arrives. Woohoo! Congratulations! I'll be testing the water with the one and start with 100 units. What happens if I go out of stock? How does this affect my ranking? And how can I have my listing under until the new stock comes in?" Amazon will automatically hide your listing if there's no inventory available. If you go out of stock, you sometimes get like your organic keyword rank back after you come back in stock. Sometimes you don't, but hey, I mean, in general, running out of stocks means that it's been selling well. So don't beat yourself up too much over it. I mean, it's kind of part of the game. So with that being said, it is the top of the hour. We are out of time. Thank you all very much for all your questions. Rolando, I appreciate all your answers, and it's been fun, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good. Keep crushing it, Freedom Builders.
Take care. Bye-bye.